And then she looked at me deadpan and said, "Why did you never tell me about it?" And I don't know what the temperature was in the house, but I can tell you it was like 40 degrees below zero for me because I just froze. And it was just really an eye-opener.
Yeah.
And my answer was, I don't know. She said, "Can you get me a $500,000 policy?"
Joel Cadesky, good to talk with you again.
Always a pleasure. Good to see you again.
And you just came back to Canada after a trip to Vegas?
I did.
Yeah.
And guess what? I didn't lose any money because I didn't bet any money.
All right. That's what I like to hear. Went to Vegas and didn't gamble.
Not a penny.
Yeah. Joel, this is conversation number 3 that we're having about this guy right here.
And we're not doing it in Toronto.
No, we're not in Toronto. That's right. We're still in the GTA.
That's right. For those that are watching that don't know where the GTA is, you can tell them where we are.
Yeah, so the GTA, it's we have Toronto, which is kind of the only city in Canada that everybody knows. And then the GTA is basically where everybody who works in Toronto ends up living.
That's right.
They get pushed out to the outer skirts, the greater Toronto area.
And we're about 25 miles outside of downtown Toronto.
Yes, exactly. Joel, so we're here to talk again about this beautiful book. The first time we talked, there was so much to cover, and I didn't finish the book at that time. The second time we talked, we had tech issues. So conversation number 3, we are being tech resilient because we want to talk about the 33 stories that we had in this book. And there's one story I want to start with.
Yes.
And the story I want to start with is you had a client who was thrilled with the work that you did with her, except for one critical thing. And the critical thing was that you didn't tell her about critical.
That was a good pun.
Thank you very much. Just thought of it.
Good segue. Good segue.
Joel, I want you to dig into that. So tell us a little bit about this client. What was her name?
Well,
what was the situation?
I won't tell your name, but I'll give up a phony name. Her name was Mary, which isn't her real name.
Yep.
So what happened was Mary and her husband were referred to me many, many years ago. He owned a company that unfortunately went out of business, but I did their group insurance. I started doing their life insurance for both of them, and everything was running well. And I went to her house one day to do some work. I can't remember what it was about. And she happened to say to me, "By the way, do you do something called critical illness?"
Mm-hmm.
So in 1996, I met Marius Bernard, who was in Canada from South Africa, working for Canada Life, purporting the new critical illness policy that came out in around 95, 96. So I've been selling it for a long, long time. Anyways, I, being the person that I am, very proud of what I do, said, "Absolutely, one of the best policies I sell. I love people having that policy." And then she looked at me deadpan and said, "Why did you never tell me about it?" And I don't know what the temperature was in the house, but I can tell you it was like 40 degrees below zero for me because I just froze. And it was just really an eye-opener.
Yeah.
And my answer was, I don't know. She said, "Can you get me a $500,000 policy?" I said, "Yes, I can go up to $2 million, but I can get you the $500,000. I wanted to know the reason why. One of her good friends got breast cancer. Her broker was better than me, in quotation marks, at that time, because he offered it and she got it. The funny part was she wanted to deal with me, not with the other guy. She did not reprimand me for it. She just said, "Get it for me." I got it for her. A few months later, maybe a year and a half, I can't remember the exact date, she unfortunately needed the policy. It wasn't her that called me. I never dealt with her. It was her husband. I met with her husband, gave the paperwork, everything was done, and a $500,000 policy check was given to her. The interesting thing was I did give her a gift of flowers after to thank her, not for buying the policy, for slapping me in the face, so to speak, and saying, "You didn't offer everything you should have. And what would have happened if I got breast cancer and I did not ask you?" So that's an opener. And in fact, today I just spoke to somebody and I said he was interested in life insurance. And I said, "I'm going to show you critical illness. You don't have to buy it, but I don't want me to not have offered it to you."
Wow.
So I've learned that lesson many, many years ago, and I followed. One of the things that I learned from that is that clients will teach you more than you'll teach them. That was a life lesson for me. And for any person that's new in the business, offer everything you have. because you don't know what they're interested in. You just don't.
You know, there was something that you just said there that I think is such a brilliant insight. You can do all the learning, all the reading, all the theory you want, but until you're in front of a live flesh and blood person with a pulse, all that information is good for nothing. So you're telling us right now about this very hard lesson that you learned. What was it, 30 years ago?
Oh, 25, 30, yeah.
25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And you got smart,
Yeah.
right? So you made the mistake once,
Yeah.
and never made it again.
Well, that's one of the lessons that I've always adhered to is I don't mind making mistakes, just don't do it twice.
Yep.
Yeah. And I tell that to people I deal with and work with. I don't mind you screwing up once, just don't do it twice.
Right. And the same mistake twice is
verboten.
Yeah.
It's got to the point where it can really create a problem with me and whoever is doing it.
So then, Joel, let's think practically here for just a moment, because it can feel overwhelming. We have all these products, and because we know all these products really well, we can see the needs that a client has, and they don't quite see it that way yet. It's part of our job to get them to see that they have these needs. But how do you broach that with a client? So when you have critical, and you have disability, and you have life, and you have all these other things that you can talk to them about, how do you bring it up with them in a way where they don't feel overwhelmed or like you're just trying to sell them something?
You just very simply ask the question, why am I here? And sit back and let them talk. I've attended so many webinars and seminars. 2 ears, 1 mouth should tell you, you listen twice as much as you talk. And if you don't know what the client's feeling, then you don't know. I mean, I've had many, many conversations with clients and prospects where I think we're going in for a mortgage sale and we end up with a disability or something else, or a big life sale turned out to be
Or
whatever.
something permanent or
and
whatever.
something permanent, or it may not even be the mortgage. It started at the time, but once they heard other things, they said, well, I can live with that now, but I want this. And I think that Tony Gordon, been 52 years in the insurance business, top of the table, MDRT, the whole bit, all of the things you want to be in this business, lives in England, bought his book. You can't buy it anymore, special. I got it specially through Jim Ruda.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, very, very interesting. But his whole thing was he works on wants, not needs. What do you as a client want? What do you want me to do for you? I want to protect my family. If I get sick, if retirement, whatever, they'll tell you what they want, and then you work around it. I mean, I can give that big, huge list of what I sell, goes out the window. And you may start with a meeting and it just goes sideways. Just like ours now, you have no notes. You have an idea what we might start with.
I've got a book.
That's all we're starting with.
Yeah.
But the point is, you don't know where this is going to lead, because based on what I'm saying is where that next question is going to come from. And that's the key. And I think too many times people go in and say, okay, well, I think what you need is $2 million of life insurance because you're earning this amount of money. And I go, no, it's not what I really am interested in. Not what I'm interested in. You know?
It's interesting, Joel. There's a Ben Feldman, probably familiar with the name.
I've got his book. I bought his book.
There you go.
I bought his book.
You know, I remember hearing a Ben Feldman interview, obviously from a long time ago, and he had talked about how he tends to go into meetings with prospects with packages. So it's almost counter to what you're saying a little bit here, because what you're saying is go in blank canvas, let them talk, identify the wants, the needs, let them kind of talk about what's important to them. Whereas Ben kind of went in with, I've got these packages, right? So, you're a business owner and you've got business partners. Well, we have a package that covers A, B, and C. The client doesn't realize it at the time, but that includes a little bit of permanent, a little bit of term, a little bit of disability, but it's a package. It's all defined.
And
so just speak to that a little bit.
Just every person that I've ever known who've been successful have their own way of doing business and being successful.
Bingo.
And I think that fit Ben perfectly. I don't think he could work the way I work. I couldn't work the way he does. I don't like package sales. That's my opinion. But again, I didn't make $25 billion like he did. So, but that's another story for it. But the key is everybody has their own way of doing business. But I think you have to adapt to what you feel confident and completely satisfied as a person presenting is. I like to hear what the client is. I like to visit. We've had many, many discussions on webinars. Do you go see a client? Do you use the TV, the Zoom? I'm a guy. I mean, I was just telling you before our meeting today, I went out to St. Catharines on Monday just to do a report with a client on group insurance. No sale, just here we are. Here's what it is. This is where we're going. There's no money in it. All my expenses are there. But guess what? That's what they like. And they would not want anything else because the other broker wouldn't do it. So I came in because I promised them I would, and I do it, and I live up my promises. But Ben Feldman was very, very interesting as well. Ben Feldman was a very slow talker, if you remember. And he also listened very well. So his package could start here, but he knew how to adapt from where he was going.
Yeah, the real beauty in the way that he would do it was he had a package and he knew that was the finish line he was trying to bring the client across, but he didn't make it seem like he was racing towards that.
Very, very, and very slow.
Yeah, slow, and it was a natural conversation that would lead to the client actually being interested. Oh, okay, well, what is it that you have to offer? Well, I've got this package, and what this package does is...
And how does it affect me, and how is it going to make my life better?
Yes.
I mean, the end result of everything that Ben ever did, and which I try to do, is that by the time our meeting is over, whatever we're going to do is going to make your life and your family life better. If it isn't, it's a moot point.
We're wasting our time.
We are.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's another thing, too, that Ben would do. If he saw that a prospect wasn't going, he'd cut it short.
Yeah.
Don't waste my time.
Yeah. That's one lesson that I try really hard to share with people in the industry, particularly when they're newer, younger. It's don't chase anything with a pulse. Like, that's not, if someone has a pulse, that doesn't necessarily mean they're the best possible client.
No, gosh.
Right? We have tire kickers all the time.
Always.
We have time wasters all the time.
Every time.
And just as much as they're trying to qualify to see if you're going to be a good advisor, agent, broker, you also are in the position to qualify if they're going to be a good client of yours. And so it's about fit, right? It's not just about will they pay us or can they pay us. It's, is there a good fit between their needs, what I can offer, and the working relationship we can have.
Do you want to be with a client for one sale, or do you want to be with them for many sales and many things in their lives where eventually they'll have children, and eventually the children will grow up and phone you and say, my parents said I should see you for this? Or do you just want to say, here's a one-off, I'll go to the next one?
Right. I
actually was on a webinar this morning. Rob Crowder from Benefit Trust had 4 brokers for group insurance. And one of the questions he asked him was very, very similar to that. What's a good client? It was very interesting. 4 different answers from 4 different people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I like, I know I'm interviewing you, but I want to share some of what's going on in my mind.
Good.
When I think about how to pinpoint a great client, there are sort of 4 qualities that come to mind. So the first one is, are they in target? So does that mean, depends on the line of business, but do they fit your underwriting guidelines, or is this going to be a really big exception that you're trying to get? Are they a type of person that you like to simply work with? Maybe you get along with contractors. Awesome, right? Maybe you get along with white collar people, whatever, blended families, whatever that target is. So that's number 1, target. I also like thinking about, can they and will they pay? And it's not just, can they afford the premium? It's, are they going to update their credit cards in time? Are they not going to have NSFs? Are they going to have policies lapse and get reinstated, right? So that's another big one. Another one is responsiveness. If they see your phone call coming in, are they going to answer the phone call, or are they going to let it go to voicemail? If you send an email, will you get a response? And the last one is, do they view you as a transaction or a partner?
Right.
So those are the 4 things that I think about when it comes to what's an A client, right? An A client is green for all 4 of those things. Yep. What say you?
The ability to pay obviously is a big one, because I learned early in my career. I actually had this is really funny. One of my first clients I ever did at Crown Life in the first year, I won't say his first name, but his last name was Lapsley. And everybody said, it's an omen. And I swear to God, true story, the guy NSF'd a lot. We almost lost the policy because of the 2 years lapsing, but it didn't. So that was, I learned that. So you don't qualify people based on income that, because I don't deal with high net worth people very often.
Sure.
But you're right. They want to pay. You don't want to chase them for money. So that's important. But a big one for me is, am I going to have a relationship with them over the next 20, 25, 30 years?
Yeah.
And will I be able to have them see me as the insurance guy to go to for everything?
So that's the difference between transaction and partner.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
When there's something to do, or anything. I'm thinking of buying a car. You've got a client. Who do you know? Oh, I've got 2 clients that sell cars. Here's their names.
Exactly.
Mention my name. I think the other one is the responsiveness. Used to be a biggie for me, but I've learned in this day and age now, clients don't respond as quickly as I do within the 2-hour period that I set up. So if I don't get a phone call back today, I don't get upset. But if I don't get a phone call tomorrow, then I'm starting to worry.
Exactly.
But I don't expect people like in the old days, they used to phone back because they weren't as busy. But now people are inundated with phone calls and voicemails and this and that. To get, I'm an anomaly, I guess, because my voicemail says I'll get back to you and attempt to get back to you within 2 business hours. And I 99 times out of 100 will. I respond to all my emails within 2 business hours, but most guys don't. But that's a positive for me because I stand out where they don't. So I've learned on that part. I'm not 100% in agreement with you, only because I don't expect everybody to be quick, but I do expect people to respond.
But exactly. So we do agree, because I said nothing about the expectation of how quickly they respond, but will they respond?
Oh yeah.
Will they respond?
Yeah, but I used to want my people to respond very quickly. If I phoned you in the phone and I left a voicemail, if I didn't get a phone call back within an hour, I phoned them back. What the heck's going on with you? Now I realize they have a busier life than they used
Although
to.
Maybe one exception to that is I find with texting, if you do text with clients, they tend to be way quicker with that.
Depends the age.
Depends
on the age.
Yeah.
Depends on the age. The younger ones will. The older ones like me, no.
Okay.
I mean, I don't like texting very much. I like voicemails.
Yeah, you texted me on the way here.
Well, I did, only because I know you liked it. You got to know your clients.
That's right. That's right. Let's go back to some of these 33 stories that you have in the book. 33 stories. They're all fabulous. There's so much to be learned from every single one. There was a lot of death in those stories. So of the 33, I think somewhere around 18 to 20 of them actually had one of your clients passing away or someone they knew passing away.
I got 2 right now that I'm just waiting for the phone call from the spouse.
Oh man, I'm sorry, Joel. That's the
you know, it's part of the business. The part of the business I'm in. Yeah. It's but it is what it is. Listen, but they're phoning me, right?
Yes.
They're not saying, I don't know who my broker is. I don't even know how to phone the insurance company. They know my number. My cell number has never changed since I got this number.
Wow.
So I've got clients who will phone me from 20 years ago because of my situation previously, leaving, whatever. And, you're answering. Yeah, I never changed my voicemail. Never changed my cell number. My voicemail is always the same. That 2 hours has been around. I can't even tell you how long.
Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, lots of death, right?
Yep.
Lots of death.
Yep.
And there's one story in particular where your neck was almost on the line, literally. It's a meeting that was supposed to take place in Barrie. I think it was 1985, 1984, May of 19.
You want to bring that up again?
I want you to talk about that again. So again, the business that you're in, you're talking to people who are alive about what life is going to be like for their families when they're dead. That's part of the business. This situation that you were in, it was a near miss. You almost died delivering.
It was group insurance.
It was group insurance.
So what happened was I had a group head office down on Adelaide Street in Toronto. It was called Revell Luminaires, and they're no longer around. And they sold lights, commercial lights, but they manufacture them in Barrie. So we did the head office in Toronto, and then we did the office workers in Barrie. But back then, which I still do, but not as much because of the technology. You can do it with a book. You don't have to go and deliver them. Back then, we actually gave them the booklets and went over it. We gave them all the stuff. So he asked me to go out to see Barrie, and we will do it at a certain time, a certain date. And I would drive up to Barrie. And he said to me, I think it was the day before, if I recollect, he said, guess what? We can't do it tomorrow. You'll have to do it next Friday. If you go back into the history of Barrie, Ontario, and Orangeville, which is equal, that was the tornado of 1985. And it came across at the time we would have been in the meeting. The building was demolished. Advocate General had the general insurance, largest claim they ever had at that time. The whole building was wiped. There wasn't a soul there. Fortunately, they all went home. But if we would have been at the meeting, it would have been an hour. By the time the tornado come, we all would have been gone. I mean, the insurance company would have had like 30, 40 death claims, including mine.
Wow.
So that was amazing. And that was just a godsend because you don't know.
Yeah.
And I just told a guy today, he said, well, I want to wait for the insurance. I said, no, you can't. Why? I said, because tomorrow you may not be here and I want to make sure the policy's in place. And I learned from that that we are really on a short leash. I just had my 79th birthday. I mean,
Congratulations.
Well,
happy belated.
It is congratulations that I've reached it, but I sit there and pinch myself and go, 79? I mean, I've got clients that I've had death claims for 30 years younger than me. Like, what have I done to deserve to be 79? What have my lifestyle? So I live every day as if today is the last. I know it's a cliche, but it's the truth. And that one really hit me home. What would have happened? The old what if. What if we would have been there? And what the coincidence of the whole thing would have been interesting. I'm on page 4. You all have $30,000 of life insurance, and woof, and the tornado comes and takes us all. We'll never know.
That's really good. Joel, you just shared something in the previous story about not knowing when something's going to happen. Live every day like it's your last. Or a client tells you, oh, I want to wait for this life insurance, and you tell them, no, I don't want to wait. There's a story in here about a gentleman who you were working with, and he needed a ton of life insurance, but he wanted to wait until after Passover. Tell me what happened with this client. What was the story there?
So the story was, I got a referral, talked to him. He told me what he wanted, what he needed. We came up with a price. I said, fine, when would you like me to come over to your house and we'll do the paperwork? Passover is coming. Call me after Passover. I said, okay, I prefer not to, but you're I can't do anything unless you want it. So I phoned after Passover, and a female answered, and I asked for the male, the client, and she said, who are you? And I said, Joel Cadesky. And she said, well, why are you phoning? And I said, well, I'm the life insurance guy. He said that I should phone him after Passover because we were going to do some life insurance. And she said, well, he died during Passover. Now, would he have got the insurance? It would have been in the underwriting. We don't know. If he would have phoned me 6 months earlier, would have been better. But the point is, I learned from there, just like I told the guy this morning, I'm not waiting. We're getting together next week. Simple as that. Yeah. It was very, very difficult for her and very difficult for me, because I learned a lesson that even though the client wants to wait, well, there's a reason they want to wait. I've always learned at Passover, Christmas time, Hanukkah time, Jewish New Year's, everybody has an excuse. Call me after.
Thanksgiving,
whatever it is.
It
is. There's always, I'm too busy.
Summer holidays.
Yeah, I'm too busy. Actually, the summer is one of my busiest times of the year, by the way.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it really is, actually, every year.
Yeah. It's, life producers in particular, when I talk to them about this type of thing, they all have a story. They all have at least one client who wanted the insurance in place, but even though they know they're not invincible and they know that they're going to die someday, they still think it's going to happen sometime in the future.
Oh, yeah.
So even though they agree there's a need, yes, I can pay for this, but let's just hold off until after the Passover or the Christmas or whatever. Without exception, almost all the life producers I know have a story where the client was going to pull the trigger, but they didn't, and something happened.
Yeah, or they became uninsurable.
They became
uninsurable. Lived, but they had that heart attack. Or
Yep.
they got diagnosed with cancer, which isn't going to kill them. They're going to get treatment. They'll be in room, but you're not going to get the insurance for a long time. And whatever you get is going to be exceedingly hard to get.
So then how do you broach that with clients? So now, ever since that Passover story, when you have a prospect or a client who's telling you, well, yeah, Joel, this all looks good. Why don't we just wait? Let me think about it for a week, or let's wait till after Christmas, or let's wait till after whatever. So what do you tell them now? How do you broach that urgency?
Well, you read the stories of Ben Feldman, the objections that he uses for it, Tony Gordon's, all the other ones. They're basically, why do you want to wait? It's just a simple why question. Why do you want to wait? Let them tell you. They'll tell you.
Yep.
And then you have your answer, and then you can fight. But to have a stock answer on that is right. I like the 3-letter word why. When clients say something, I'll just ask why and let them tell me why. A lot of times they don't even know why. Well, why do you want to wait? I don't know. I don't know. Well, do you want the insurance? Yeah. Do you feel that it's something you want, you can afford? Yeah. Then what's going to be the difference between now and 6 months now or 3 months now? Except your insurance might be not available because your health has changed.
Yes. And that's so powerful, because so often when it comes to objections or concerns, urgency, or this is a nice to have, Joel, I don't think it's a need to have, or I don't see why I should do this now. Like you said, you can have stocked answers, but that's usually not the best course of action.
Okay, no.
Ask them a question.
Why?
Respond.
3-letter word.
Exactly.
Jim Ruda has a great line that I use sometimes as well. Jim Ruda says very simply, nobody needs life insurance? Nobody. It's a want. You want it. There's a reason for it. Nobody needs it. You can go without it. Lots of people do.
Yeah.
I mean, we know over 50% of the population doesn't have it.
Right.
More than 50% of the population has never had an insurance broker ever phone them.
Mm-hmm.
Can you believe that? When I
Wow.
heard that statistic, it blew my mind. I cannot believe it because everybody says, oh, you're in insurance. My God, every day I'm getting 25 phone calls from guys. Where do they get my name? It's not true.
It's not true. Yeah. Yep.
It's not true.
And it's funny because I've actually heard from clients when asked about life insurance and, oh, don't you want to cover your final expenses? Well, no, I don't care. Like people actually saying, well, hold on, your kids are going to have to pay for this, or someone's going to have to pay for your funeral. I don't care. I'll be dead.
Okay. Well, that was very nice. Do you know anybody that you could refer me to? Because obviously we're not doing business today.
Yeah.
So who's your brother? Who's your accountant? Could I have their names and phone numbers? Thank you.
Yeah.
Get some referrals out of them at least.
Yeah, exactly. 33 stories again. Gosh, there's so much to be said and asked about each one of them. I wonder, is there a story, Joel, in those 33 that if I put you on the spot and said the best lesson that you could share with people, which story would that be?
Freddie Johnson.
Tell us about Freddie.
Tell the story minimum 2 times a month. Minimum 2 times a month. Freddie Johnson got referred to me over 40 years ago. He was a truck driver. My late brother-in-law, Lenny, was a truck driver in the same company. And I just started in the insurance business with Crown Life. And somehow they got talking, and he said, look, you should buy some insurance. So I met Freddie and his wife. And Freddie said, and back then, this was a big policy. It was a $10,000 whole life to pay for the funeral, which more than covered back then 40 plus years ago, way over that. So we're not talking today's dollars.
We'll have to pause for a second. How much is it in today's dollars?
I have no idea, but I bet it's got to be over 100, 200, 300,000 easy. But
For the whole funeral thing? Yeah.
I don't know, but I can tell you for sure, 10,000 back then was a good, substantial life insurance permanent policy.
Right.
Permanent. So I wrote the policy up with Freddie. Freddie, unfortunately, didn't fit those 4 modes. Freddie moved from truck company to truck company. He went here, he went there. He moved from apartment to apartment. Never, ever owned his house. Lovely, sweet man. Always kept in touch with him. He would leave every Monday morning to drive to California. I can't believe he did this for 30, 40 years. Go to California, drop off there, pick up the produce, come back to Toronto, back on Friday night, spend the weekend, go back in. He did that all year long. His whole thing was going to California and coming back. Very straightforward guy. I want 10,000. That's it. I don't want any more. That's fine. You know the guy. He's very set in his ways. Lovely, lovely wife he had, and Gloria. Anyways, maybe 20, 25 years. I can't remember the time period. I got a phone call from Freddie. Come over to my new apartment. Okay. No questions asked. I went. No money, no sale, no nothing. But I went. As soon as I walked in, right in his nose, he had that oxygen
Right,
thing.
the COPD machine.
Right,
Yeah.
and he had it beside him. And he said, I'm not in good shape, so I want you to write down now. And there was the policy on the table, the 10,000 Crown Life policy. Write down on a piece of paper. They gave me a paper. Write down what Gloria has to do when I die. So I said, fine. Here's my cell number, blah, blah. And I put down all the scenarios. And he took me out to the car. And I said goodbye to Gloria. And he said to me, I want to thank you for everything you've done. I said, what are you talking about? Just screw up. Like, we're going to be talking for years. He said, no, I'm going to die shortly. He said, I can't go on much longer. Well, sure enough, a little while later, I got a phone call from Gloria. Very, very interesting. My life, as you see, has a lot of symbolism. I'm driving on the Queenie, you may know it, by Highway 10. Just north of Highway 10, there's a funeral home called Turner and Porter. I got a phone call from Gloria. Where are you? 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock on a Friday. Well, I'm just on the Queenie by Highway 10. Well, so am I. Come up to Turner and Porter. Freddie died. We're at the funeral home.
Wow.
What do you talk about that, eh? So I drove up, met the funeral home guy. When's the funeral? It's going to be Tuesday. Well, I can't do anything to pay until you have the funeral home, whatever. Funeral's on Tuesday, 11 in the morning, I think it was. I was there in the afternoon. I picked up the funeral report, took it to Crown Life. At that time, it was now Canada Life because they got bought out by Canada Life. Took it up to Markham. We did it. Got the $10,000 check very, very quickly with less than 2 weeks. because there was no medical required, 10,000 back then.
Right.
Drove it out to Gloria, drove it out to her apartment, gave her the $10,000 check. She phoned me up about a day or two later, if I remember correctly. She said, I want you to come out to my apartment. Okay, go out to the apartment. There's a bag for me. Open it up. It's a tablecloth. Okay, why? She said, you saved me money by paying within 20 days of the funeral. I got a discount, and that 10,000 was more than enough, and I got money left over. Wow. And she just wanted to thank me. Went back home, showed it to my wife. It's a tablecloth. She said, are you kidding? She looks at the label. This is a so-and-so. It was $75 retail back then. Can you imagine how much money for a lady that 10,000 to her was like 10 million?
Yeah.
So that's the Freddie Johnson story. So you ask about the lesson. The lesson is, no, it's not the dollar value of the insurance. Million, 2 million, 5 million, doesn't matter. What is the value for the client, and what value do you do? He phoned me. I didn't ask, why do I come? He said, come. She phoned me, come, I come. That's what they value the most.
Yep.
That's what they value the most. And he was so appreciative that he would not have to worry when he died that the funeral home would be paid. Mm-hmm. That's all he wanted. And you know what? Who am I to say, well, you should have this, you should have that. 10,000 isn't going to do much for her. At least 100,000 to put her, maybe she can get a better. All he wanted was 10. And that's the Freddie Johnson story that I tell all the time. And it tells me when somebody needs, in our computer analysis, 4,322,000, but they only want $1 million, that's what they're going to live with. That's what it is. I got it down here. That's more.
Right.
That's the lesson. And the other thing is, I'm known in the industry of low premium, low face amount guys, because I do the mom and pop market. Yep. And a lot of my mom and pop are guys who, with the way the economy is today, they can't afford a lot. So I do a lot of term insurance. And a lot of guys look at me like I'm not a high net worth guy. I keep repeating that over and over again. I put it on LinkedIn so many times. We're off topic now, but anyway.
Oh, that's good. I like off topic.
That's okay. I mentioned this more than once. I'm on record. I think our industry today has tilted. Insurance companies, MGAs especially, are now tilting to brokers and advisors that sell the high net. And the guys who are with the mom and pops and the small premiums not really concerned about you. And the small guy, I just posted the other day, the mom and pop person who needs the insurance isn't going to get it. When half the insurance brokers in Canada don't sell over 5 policies a year, they're all selling to the high net worth. Who's going to go out to see somebody 25 miles?
What you're bringing up is such an important issue because high net worth gets thrown around a lot, right?
Tell me about it.
When people talk about high net worth, what they mean is people who make, $150,000 in annual income or higher, whatever. Pick your number. Who cares? Some exorbitant amount of money. But the thing is, every person, regardless of how much they're earning per year, is a high worth individual.
Freddie Johnson, 10 grand.
Freddie Johnson, equal in human dignity. His life is just as important to him.
Important, actually.
Well, Freddie's life was just as important to him as a millionaire's life is to themselves.
But in actuality, he was more important because he was salt of the earth, did what he did for his wife, worked like crazy, where a lot of these guys, there's a little different. They're looking at life a little bit differently. He was not a me too.
We might agree to disagree there.
That's okay, but don't worry about it. We can take this out.
That's okay. The whole point is that, whether you're selling, a $1,000 a year policy to someone for $20,000 in final expense coverage, or a $10,000 policy per year for $2 million in coverage, it feels like a $2 million policy to both those people.
100%.
So your Freddie Johnson story, it's so powerful because Freddie, he didn't have a lot of financial
zero.
Financial support, financial resources, but the amount of money that he wanted to secure for his wife felt like the lottery. Felt like millions.
That's why
dollars.
He thanked me in the parking lot.
Yeah.
That's why he thanked me. The other thing too that is really, really important is that I found that the lower amount people appreciate the value more than the larger amounts.
Well, because you know what they say, everybody knows the price of everything and the value of nothing.
That's true.
Right?
That's very true. Very, very true. The Freddie Johnsons of the world I have gravitated to for over 45 years.
Yep.
I love dealing with them. I like dealing with people who own companies, entrepreneurs.
Sure.
That's my bag with the group insurance. But this thing that we're doing now with high net worth, where it's all permanent, high cash values, high premiums, pay it off quickly. Well, who's the winner in that? You know? I mean, we can get in an argument, and I have many times. But I leave that to the guys that want to sell it.
Right.
I'm very happy to have the remainder Freddie Johnsons of the world.
Right. No, that's good. You know, there's something that also struck me about that story, because in that story, Gloria and Freddie had you over, and they put out a piece of paper, and they said, Joel, write down what Gloria has to do when I pass away.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I discovered when I talk with life producers is there isn't a whole lot of talk about how to prepare the beneficiaries for the claim process. Sometimes what I hear is, you know, we tell them, of course, what needs to happen. Like, okay, when so-and-so passes away, you have to get a death certificate. You call me, and that's basically all the information that they give. How important is it to you to have clients, not just clients, but maybe their beneficiaries, the people who are actually going to have to process the claim afterward? How important is it for you to make sure that they know what their responsibility is after a claim is made?
I want them there every time I deliver the policy.
Yeah.
And I want to say to them, here's my business card, here's my cell number, ain't going to change. Something happens, you're calling me first, we'll go over it, but this eventually is what I'm going to need. There is another story that we haven't talked about, which is a funny story. I had another client who bought a $10,000 policy, single mother, son, said, if I die, you phone Mr. Cadesky. So I get the phone call one morning. Hi, you don't remember me, but my mother, Dolores, passed away. I'm very sorry. She said I should phone you to get the money. I said, okay, very good. When can you come over with the money? Pardon? Well, she said, when I die, you'll take over and get the money. So I had to explain the process to him, because when I delivered the policy, he was a little bit younger. But that really reinforced in my mind, they don't understand. It's not like I don't write the check as soon as you tell me you died.
Yeah.
Right. My name is Cadesky, not Candle Life or Manual Life. You know, if it was, I might.
There isn't a vault in the Cadesky home with a bunch of bills that you just get to pull out and.
Yeah, and it's got your name on it.
Yeah,
it's got your name on it. The check has got your name already made out for the $1 million. But that was a really funny story in retrospect, because again, you learn from every story. And the story was, you've got to explain to them, this is how the process works. Oh, by the way, very, very important, there's something called the incontestable clause. I've had 6 in my career.
Wow.
And I got to tell you, the worst one took 7 months to get approved. 7 months. I actually had a lady say, I'm getting my lawyer to sue you if this isn't going to be solved. And I said, well, it's not me. It's the insurance company. I'm doing everything I can, but we need this report, we need that. But the incontestable clause, I always explain to everybody when I deliver a policy, because that is really important. Your policy technically, sir, will pay, but 2 years from now, then we really will feel comfortable. Because in the first 2 years, you die, they're going to contest it. And guess what? I've had 6. All 6 paid out, though.
Wow.
Because I tell my clients, if you lie, you're not going to get paid out.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And they don't lie. And if they do, so far, so good.
Yep. And it's been a long career, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, listen, you know what? As much as I want to make a commission, I don't want to go to jail for fraud. And I don't want you to go to jail. So let's just get that out of the way now. I like my life the way it is. And I'm not going to, for $200 a commission, put my life on jeopardy because you're screwing around with the answers.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, one thing that we've talked about in the past, Joel, is E&O. We've talked about E&O because in this virtual world and, you know, prospects and clients, they're people, right? I love people, but people are sometimes dishonest, and sometimes they're dishonest intentionally, like they're deliberately trying to lie. Sometimes they're dishonest because they don't realize they're not telling us the whole truth. So tell me a little bit about how you defend against, or maybe not defend against, but how skeptical are you? Do you have healthy skepticism with prospects? Tell me about that.
Well, every question I ask, and when there's a hesitation, I say, okay, obviously there's more. Tell me what it's about. The one that gets you the most is the cigarettes. You know, Are you a non-smoker? Yeah. Well, when was the last time you had a cigarette? 8 months ago. Well, you're a smoker, but I only had one in the last year. Well, you're either pregnant or you're not. You're either a smoker or you're not. One cigarette, you're a smoker. 100 cigarettes, same price. So that's the one I really, 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 really push for, is on the cigarette. But then also on the health. Well, it was a minor thing. They did a little thing with my arm. Well, tell me about it. Next thing you know, it went up. So you do that. We had a fellow that used to work with me at one of my companies I used to work at, and he asked me to sell him a policy because he felt I could service him when he passed away, which I did. Problem was, I was writing the policy on him, and I never could get a hold of him to deliver the policy that had been approved. Finally, the wife phoned and said, well, he had brain surgery, half his head shaved, a whole bit. Wow. And he eventually died. I never delivered that policy because there was a change in health that if I would have delivered that policy, the insurance company would never have paid out. I would have been sued. There's your E&O. So I always say when I deliver a policy, since I've last seen you, has there been any change in your health? Have you gone to a doctor, good or bad? Maybe the cholesterol went from 20 milligrams to 10, but we got to know that.
Right.
I've even, in the old days, you can't do that now, I even went from the client, phoned the underwriter and said, the fellow just went, he had flu 2 weeks ago, can I deliver the policy? Yeah, go ahead, no problem. He's finished. But I did. Anytime there's a change in health, I have to hold up. I've had more than one person mad at me because I wouldn't deliver the policy. Then I come back later and say, they approved it. I gave the information. They said, everything's cool, everything's fine. Yeah, that's where your E&Os come in.
Yeah.
Very scary because they don't think it's a big deal. As far as they're concerned, they're a non-smoker. What's one cigarette a year or two every 6 months or whatever? No, or one cigar. No. Yeah. It's a big deal to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. I'm going to pause. Just want to check my battery. Okay, battery's still good.
Good.
I've got this weird microphone, so you can see the mic that we have. Yeah. There's a little dongle on the left side of the laptop. Yeah. That's the receiver. That's also the same port that I use to charge the laptop. So when the mic is plugged in, I can't charge the laptop.
Okay. That's good. That's cool. That's different. Yeah. Okay, well, we've got some more time, whatever you want.
Yeah, we got some time. Good. Good. Joel, so 33 stories. You've been doing this for a very long time. Maybe when, but if you're writing a second part to this book, and let's say you had more stories, who's the first story that comes to mind that you didn't capture in this book?
Don't think so. I think I took the 30 plus that were on top of my mind, but there's been things since the last 2.5 years that I started the book that have come to, that I've had some.
So give us the biggest headline from the last 2.5 years since you published the book.
That's a very good question. I'm trying to remember or go through it. To be very honest with you, I haven't had any real interesting stories, though I just had one recently where another broker tried to take away. I worked on this fella, I would say, for 6 years, 5-6 years. Wow. Very meticulous guy, very meticulous. But
so is this an existing client or someone you've been trying to win?
Brand new client. Okay. No life insurance on with him, but referred to me, and I worked with him. And took a long time. He went to other brokers, read stuff, very analytical. That's fine. Eventually he called me up and said, I think I got to do it, because he understands he has to do it. So we did it, and we got him approved. And just recently he said, I met with another guy who went through your policy. So I phoned him up this morning. Funny, just coincident. I phoned him up this morning. That's fresh in my mind. And I said, okay, tell me what it is that you don't like. And he gave me one thing, and I told him why I did what I did. And he said, okay, that's fine. Thank you very much, and hung up. And said, that's it. I still want to deal with you. Give you another story. I'm writing up a policy next week on a lady who was an employee of one of my groups. Phoned me up. Don't know who she was. She knew me because she said, I've been there 30 years. I know you've been there plus because I've remembered you at the beginning when we got group benefits.
And I'll pause you for a second here because this is so important for the context for those who don't know. When Joel writes a group policy, he makes sure that all the employees at the business have direct access to you.
100%. She had my cell number.
So she had your cell number.
Oh yeah, sure. So everyone has it.
Yeah. So whether the group is three lives, or it's 50 lives, or it's 300 lives, whatever, each employee, after the group policy is written, they have direct access to
my email as well. So she phoned me up, and she said, I'm leaving the company, but I do want some insurance. And this is what I'm looking for. Gave her a price. She said, I'll get back to you. Okay, those phone calls I don't keep bugging. Anyway, she phoned me up this morning and said, okay, when are you free? I decided next week I want to do it. Next week I want to do it.
Wow.
So it was on her mind. Finally, she talked to some. So we're going to do it next week. So that's an interesting one too. So those are most recent ones. I can't go back 2.5 years to try to think. But, I'm sure I have other ones. But,
I'm sure you do.
But I will go through my list if I ever do book 2, and they'll come through and I'll have a story. But those are the 2 most recent ones that are interesting. One who was attacking me, and one who, just because of who I'll give you another story. There's I don't have the group I used to. I lost it. There's reasons, political, nothing to do with service. And I have a policy that I can provide for them for critical illness on a group basis. Mm-hmm. So I phoned up the owners and I said, I know you don't want me for the existing group, but I got something your other broker will never offer, a group critical illness. No payment for you as a company. The employees pay it all. All I need is give me a half an hour to explain it to the employees. If they want it, they'll buy it. If they don't, they won't. You don't have to do anything. So they let me do it yesterday morning. I walked in, 2 employees, no lie, 2 employees came up and gave me a big hug.
Wow.
Both of them said the same thing. Where have you been? We thought you were retired. I said, no, I got fired.
I got fired.
I told them the truth. They fired me.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But I'm here for this.
They hugged you and said, where have you been? We thought you retired. I have to point out the name of your book. Not Retired.
That's right.
Rewired.
That's right.
So this was a story where, no, I'm not retired.
No.
I'm rewired.
I got fired.
I got fired, and now we're rewired.
I'm rewired. I'm here, and I got something that you don't want. And I bet you of the people that were there, I bet 50% will sign up because they never heard anything that I'm offering. It's a very interesting product. I won't get into it. But the point is, they allowed me to come there for that, but they won't allow me to take over the group.
So another lesson that's emerging in my mind, just as you're sharing it there, is it seems to me like you try to make it really easy to make a decision for your clients.
Yeah, why make it hard?
So that's, the offer was just give me 30 minutes. I'll explain it to them. They're going to understand it. They're going to want it. You don't have to do anything. Just let me come in for 30 minutes. So to me, that's a huge lesson, which is, it can feel so complicated and so overwhelming to clients. But if we just make it easy for them, why wouldn't they take us up on it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the whole thing is insurance is a black hole. It really is. And people don't understand it. I'm talking about brokers, let alone clients.
Yep.
And it's a tough thing for people. But if you can make it easy for them, you make it real. That's why Ben Feldman was so successful. He made it that the guy could actually see the value for him for whatever he was buying. He actually could visualize it. Mm-hmm. It was almost like a movie on the screen. Here you are, and here's your family getting my check from me.
Right. Exactly. Showing up to people's houses with a big bag of cash and dumping it out and saying, is this how much you want when you die?
But I will tell you, very interesting, because I did mention it in the book as well. I've had a lot, not many, but I've had a few where I wasn't the broker, but I took it over to give the check because, I took it over from a colleague that left.
Let's come in a little closer.
Yeah. And the interesting thing was, that's it. Where's the more? What do you mean more? Well, I'm sure he's got more insurance.
Yep.
I've never in 45 plus years ever had a widow or a widower or a beneficiary ever say to me, here's the check, too much. Don't give me $350, give me $200.
Yep.
They all go, what do you mean $350? Where's the other $150, $200? Yep. Yeah. And that's the other thing that I do tell people. Whatever you buy from me, I don't care. It's her or whoever is going to be the one that will care because they're the ones that are going to live with your decision. And that's why I like the husband and wife together. Mm-hmm. I've made bigger sales, not commission-wise, just bigger sales, because the spouse will say, I just had one recently. There's a good quote. I did $1 million. Wife says, no, that's not enough. Well, what do you mean? That's not enough for me.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we upped it because she said it was more.
Yep.
He would have been happy to do not that.
500,000.
Oh, 10,000 he would have been happy with. We're not talking premium.
That's good. One of the conversations that I have a lot is in this business, it doesn't matter if it's life or group or home, car, business insurance, farm insurance, whatever. When we enter the industry, we get taught the technical stuff, right? Because you have to be licensed, you have to pass the exams. And then we're taught the underwriting guidelines because you want to be able to fill the application out properly and not have underwriting slap your wrist. And then sometimes we're taught systems, right? Softwares and CRM, and here's the phone, and here's the whatever. And then after that, it's basically a pat on the head, maybe a pat on the back, and say, all right, go at it. And so it's no surprise to me that so many people struggle when they're meeting with prospects and clients to not be too technical, to not just follow the conversation like you're trying to fill out an underwriting application, and to not just think about the software that you need to put all the numbers into. So I guess my question for you, Joel, is, how do you avoid getting too technical with clients? How do you keep it at a level that they just get it, that they understand?
You're not going to like this answer, but it's the truth. I'm just a simple guy. I don't like things. When I go buy a car, I don't want to know how the pistons are working. I just want to know, how is the car? Is it going to go from A to B, and what's my monthly lease? Well, more like just like, I'm just a very, like, that's why I tell you, I'm a meat and potatoes guy. I deal with the mom and pop. I'm a very simple guy. I came from Owen Sound, small town. I'm not in the high end, I'm not in the high rent area, of the world. And that's how I do it. It's very simple. I talk to them like I would want them to talk to me. Insurance is very simple. Here's $2 million if you die to your wife, but you got to pay us until you die. You want is there anything else you wanted to know? That's the policy.
So it's so beautiful that you say that, because you talk about, well, when I buy a car, I don't need to know about the pistons and all that kind of stuff. But none of our clients do. None of our clients need to know the intricacies of the technical aspects of the products. If they ask, sure, why not? Explain a little bit about the stuff behind the curtain. But for the most part, they just want to know, okay, what is my problem? How do I solve this problem? And how much is it going to cost me to solve this problem?
That's the key. What will my spouse get if I die?
Yep.
And how much is it going to cost me? And is that every month, every 10 years, 20 years? So you explain that technicality, how it works.
Yep.
And that's it. You like it, you don't like it. You want it. And by the way, you said to me your budget's $200 a month. This $2 million is $400 a month. So guess what? We're going down to $1 million. Are you happy with that? Oh, can we do $1.5 million? Sure, whatever you want. Notice what I just said. Whatever you want.
Right.
The client makes the decision. My wife was a social worker. I've used her term. I am not a social worker. I'm an insurance guy. You live with your consequences of your decision. You came to me for advice. You came to me for numbers. You came to me for whatever reason. You've got everything you want. What do you want? I remember Tony Gordon once said, when you go to bed at night, what amount on the insurance will make you sleep? Not wake up at nighttime go, oh my God, I should have bought $2 million, only bought $1 million. And I love that question. What will make you sleep?
It's another thing too, I think about this when we set expectations with prospects in the beginning, right? In the beginning of the first conversation, whatever. After you ask them, why do they want to have the meeting in the first place? One thing that I think is effective is by kind of explaining what your role is. So explaining the role, hey, listen, my name is Joel, or my name is David, and for the next 30 to 40 minutes, my job is to help you make an informed decision. At the end of those 40 minutes, Joel, you're probably going to think, I think this is a good decision. I want to move ahead. Or you're going to think, you know what, this isn't really for me. I'm going to pass this time around. It doesn't matter to me which of those two things you feel. Our job is to figure out in 40 minutes which one is the right decision. How does that sound?
Yeah. It's as simple as that.
And that's just that. Set the expectation up front. There's a decision that's going to be made, and you're going to find out, is this life insurance thing, or is this commercial insurance, or this farm insurance? Is this the good decision for you, or is this something you're going to pass on?
Yeah. And also, do you want the decision to go forward with me?
Yep.
Or you're not, maybe you like what I'm offering, but you don't like me.
Yep.
Again, I go back to Tony Gordon and a few of the other people as well, who also said very simply, we have two decisions to make. You have to decide whether you want to deal with me. I got to decide where you're my fit as well.
Yes.
And then the prospect looks and go, like, what are you talking about? Because you got to remember, I'm not in it for a one sale. I'm in it for a relationship long term. I've been married 52 years. I'm not going to be with you for the next 52 years, but I want to be with you for a long time because there's things down the road and I want you to have a relationship with me. But I also have to feel that I can deal with you. Am I going to be able to phone you up and just talk about the Blue Jays one day and we don't have to talk business? Or do I have to worry about it? When I phone you up, can I just say, hi, it's me, instead of I'm your insurance broker, you haven't heard from me for 10 years? The other thing is, do I grade upon you? Because maybe you just don't like the way I look, the way I talk, the way I dress. Maybe I'm too old for you. That's okay too. I don't mind that.
There's lots of business to be written, right? And so I think your point is valid. We talked about this, I think, about 15, 20 minutes ago. It's fit, right? There's so many insurance companies, there's so many people out there There's something for everyone. What I want to make sure is at the end of our time together, we both feel like this is a fit.
For both of us, not
Exactly,
just for me,
both of
but
us.
for you too. And also your spouse.
Yeah.
I can't tell you more than once in my career, I got kiboshed from the spouse, where the husband phoned me up and said, she didn't like you, sorry. Lost the sale. He wanted to deal with me. She didn't like me. Or reverse. I've had that recently where he said, my wife said, I got to phone you because you are who you are.
Now, have you had that with your wife where one of you vetoed something you were going to do because you didn't like the salesperson?
Oh, yeah.
Happens all the time.
Oh, we I can tell you, we just put new eaves troughs in our house, and both of us agreed that we liked the guy, both of us.
Right. Is that rare?
No, we're pretty in sync and pretty well, but there was a few times where she just said, you make the decision on something because I don't like him, but you're the one going to be dealing with him all the time.
Yeah.
I don't want to get involved. But if it has something to do with buying appliances, if she didn't like the sales guy, and I did, we didn't buy.
Yeah.
Because she was going to deal with these, yeah. So when we bought our stove and fridge and all that stuff, she dealt with the salesperson. I was just there to
sign the check.
Well, no, she helped too, but the point was she made the decision who to deal with, and we got good salespeople, and that's important. Yeah. I've been dealing with the same guy for my cars for the last 17 years. As soon as I liked them, she liked them. We've never, and he's moved to 3 different dealerships. We follow.
You follow him.
I have followed him.
Amazing.
Every time I get that letter, I'm now at so-and-so, and I go and I say, wherever you are, I'll follow you. No problem. No problem. My accountant just moved, said to me, what are you going to do? I said, wherever you go, I'll follow you. I don't care.
Wow.
Yeah. But if you like somebody, the relationship is there. Because it's you I'm buying from. Like I keep telling people, you're not buying from Canada Life. You're not buying from Manulife. You're buying from Joel Cadesky. Because I'm the guy that's going to be there when you need it.
Yeah.
The insurance company don't know you from Adam. They don't care. You're just a dollar sign. You're not a dollar sign with me. So you're right. Very, very important. And that's very, and I like to get both people involved.
You have to. Yeah.
Well, no, you don't have to.
You
I know that's the key word. A lot of people don't. They don't want, I can't tell you how many orphan policies in my early career I took over. And I asked who the broker was. She said, I don't know. I never met him.
Mm-hmm.
He only dealt with my husband.
Wow.
That's insane. That's disrespectful. It really is. That really is disrespectful. How do you not, the person who's going to get the money, you don't even know who they are?
Yeah.
That's awful.
Joel, where can people pick up this book?
Oh, online, Indigo, Amazon. If you're in the Toronto area, go to Yorkdale. It's on the 2nd floor in the business section.
And now I'm fortunate because Joel, after recording this interview, is actually going to sign it for me. He's got the pen. Folks, it's an amazing story to read. Joel, it's basically a memoir and this huge chapter of your life being in the insurance industry and all these amazing stories that you have. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for packaging all these amazing client stories into this book and for sharing more of that wisdom here with me today. Thank you, Mr.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me. I'm always happy to talk.
Thanks so much, Joel.
My pleasure.